So we're going to start this section and go over one of the key historical figures for personality psychology, which is Sigmund Freud. So he came up with one of the most comprehensive theories, and he basically said that all of our behavior is motivated by unconscious drives towards sex and aggression. People who still practice Freudism actually do something called neo-Freudians, and they don't think sex and aggression is as important of a factor. So some key things that you want to keep in mind and remember from this section is something called a Freudian slip, which we're going to talk about more in a second, and then the 3 aspects of personality. So if you look here, what you will see is this like iceberg depiction, okay? And you'll see that the vast majority of the superego is beneath the surface, and so is the id, and then the ego and a little bit of the superego peek out. So when we talk about the 3 aspects of personality, I want you to look again at this iceberg. So the superego is mostly beneath the surface, and this is our sense of morality. So it's something right or wrong. The id is completely beneath the surface, and this is like our urges, okay? Whether that's sexual urges or like very basic urges. And then the ego, which is a little bit above, a lot of it is still underneath the surface. It's just our way to figure out and kind of solve these problems. So when we have like something that's in front of us, like let's say I want to eat a cookie and I need to step out of my therapy session and eat a cookie, my superego might ask, should we leave therapy with the client to go eat a cookie? My id might say, give me the cookie. And my ego might say, how can we get the cookie? So what is a Freudian slip? A Freudian slip basically means that you say something that you are actually thinking. So if you hate someone and her name is Kitsch, then I want you to make sure that you go over all of your neo-Freudians, but in the meantime, I want you to look up and look at Skinner and behaviorists. So behaviorists view personality as merely whatever is reinforced increases and whatever is punished decreases, okay? So essentially, we are not really a person, but we are just the sum of all of our experiences. So really on the nurture side of the nature-nurture debate, your environment matters the most. Now, the social cognitive perspective says that really we are a mix of our internal motivations, how we're raised, and also our temperament, or how we just naturally are. And so one thing that kind of summarizes that is something called reciprocal determinism, which basically means that the way that you engage in the environment is going to change the way that the environment engages with you. Your particular genetic predisposition is going to affect that, and your history of reinforcement and punishment. So basically everything affects each other, and it's a back and forth relationship. So what is reciprocal determinism and how does it affect our behavior? So it's basically how your temperament, your thoughts, your environment, and your behaviors all interact. So if I have a specific temperament, which is easily excitable, and I have the thought that that's acceptable, then I might go into environments and find people who agree with me, engage in those behaviors, and then they would further confirm my existing thought. Let's say I have the same temperament, easily excitable, but then I have the thought, ooh, people aren't going to like that. They're going to think it's too much. Then I might allow people or engage in behaviors that show people that I feel insecure about my natural temperament. And then they might further reinforce that by their behaviors. Maybe they're turned off by it. Maybe they make negative comments. And so basically your behaviors and your environment can work in this loop where they all exist and influence one another. So if you have a specific thought, that might make you more inclined to engage in a specific action, which would then reinforce your existing thought. Okay, so it's all working